There is nothing new in our thirst to race, except the science, the technology that roars and passes almost as fast into history. Names are made, titles won. Failure is always a threat, but that makes the success even sweeter. The select few drive on into the fast lane of legend. And so, to 2011. The finest group of drivers ever assembled on the grid. Stables of artists waiting for the poetry to become motion. This is Formula One.
At 18,000 revolutions per minute, this isn't music. This is the scream of science. This is the inner world of pneumatic valve springs, of mean effective pressure, 300 brake horsepower per liter of displacement. The quest for the perfect four-stroke V8 naturally aspirated reciprocating engine.
EJ Milk?
Yeah.
This is Formula One.
Oh, lovely.
There we go, boys. All right.
I think we know which one's Eddie's, right?
Jake. That'll be me. And EJ.
Oh. No one would have guessed you to come up with a little stunt like that, DC.
Don't drink it all at once, and it's hot. Be careful.
Well, thank you for the tea. Thank you for the invite as well. Let's start by going all the way back to Australia. Were you excited about the new season?
I was very excited. I was nevertheless very disappointed because I was eagerly awaiting Robert Kubica. I wanted to see what he could do. And if you can recall, that Renault car was very quick at the beginning of the season, and I think he could have been a big force.
Formula One driver Robert Kubica has undergone surgery after a high-speed crash in Italy in the Ronde di Andorra rally.
I called straight away, and it was an hour after, and they said we're not very much worried about his hand, his life.
Surgeons are trying to repair the driver's right hand.
There were fears his hand would be amputated, but according to his surgeon, Kubica is likely to regain full use, but it could take up to a year.
I don't know what was going on as to why and how he was allowed to do that rally, but not alone did it hurt him, but it hurt Formula One, and I was disappointed he wasn't there.
Of course, before the season even got going, there was pre-season testing, and long gone are the days when you hardly know what's happening at the tests. And every time I checked what was happening, McLaren were either retiring from the testing, stopping out on the track, or posting slow times. How stressful would that have been for the team, do you think?
Hugely, because you never really have enough time to catch up. And here was a great team, McLaren, many times champions, and they're floundering.
It was an absolute mess in pre-season. You know, we couldn't do any testing basically. Every time we tried to, we'd do a run. After about 4 laps, we'd have exhaust issues.
It wasn't as bad as the car in 2009. The problem is the exhaust kept blowing up every 10 to 30 laps.
It was always going to be a difficult season, starting with that winter.
All the attention had to go to just fixing that exhaust. And so, unfortunately, I think instead of making steps forward from a good foundation, we were trying to fix the foundation.
McLaren, can they really mix it up with Red Bull after so many difficulties in the last few weeks? Hamilton gets it onto the front row from McLaren.
The team were amazing at turning it around.
We had great performance, which was a big surprise for all of us.
It was a pretty messy winter, and I was amazed when we got to the first race that we had the pace that we did.
Great effort from Lewis Hamilton, well done, up in second place on the grid. He'll have nobody in front of him apart from just to his left, this man, Sebastian Vettel.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Sebastian. Good luck this year.
Very much. Obviously, I've got the number one on my car, but the number one doesn't make me 2-3 tenths quicker a lap just because I have got the number one on the car. It doesn't give me extra horsepower or extra ability, so I still need to push like mad to go fast and try to go faster than the others. And we start, from 0 points.
Mentally, how was he going to be able to go forward from, I won't say being gifted the World Championship, but what he didn't have to do the previous year was all the pressure. He came slowly, won the World Championship. How was he going to develop? Was he going to be still dominant? Would he push on forward?
I love what I'm doing, and yeah, so here we go again.
Vettel gets away well from pole position. Webber follows him closely. And a look at the lead that Vettel has. Then the leader pits then. Sebastian Vettel pits. Here's Button, and he's doing a nice job of holding up Vettel, isn't he, for his teammate?
Oh, and incredible pass there from Sebastian Vettel, obviously on the fresher tyres.
Hamilton's just had a really bad lap.
His under tree is broken, Martin. That is a critical area of the car for performance.
A few corners to go then for Sebastian Vettel. He's driving to the line for his 11th Grand Prix victory, Red Bull's first Australian victory. And this is a great drive from Lewis Hamilton. So much hard work by the McLaren team to get Hamilton over the line in second place.
Thank you, boys. Fantastic race.
Pretty ominous, isn't it, that performance from Red Bull?
He just came back with that little extra sparkle that you can pick up from a World Championship. So all of the questions that you had actually were answered for us there in Melbourne.
Happy birthday, dear Daisy. Happy birthday to you.
The best part of it was his birthday celebrations. I enjoyed the cake episode so much. As far as I was concerned, Sebastian Vettel went up in my estimation. Anyone who could do that to you, full marks.
I still have cake in my ear.
This is a direct battle between McLaren and Red Bull. Vettel crosses the line and takes pole position. That was a devastating performance. The reigning world champion, leading the World Championship, wins again here in Malaysia.
2 races in, and Sebastian Vettel is 50 points on the board. I mean,
He just was so calm. He was in a comfort zone, and so therefore it was effortless. He just blew everybody away.
So the first 2 races of the year, same winner, and we're starting to think, hold on, is this going to get a bit monotonous?
Yeah, you say that. We then go to China and we get a different winner.
That weekend, I think, stand-up memories are being in the garage and possibly not being able to make it to the grid.
This is high drama at McLaren. Just a little more than 5 minutes to get this job done. You can see our camera 2 now is being pushed back because there is a stench of petrol in this garage.
I was just really cool, really calm. Probably one of the, I think just from years ago I used to watch, when I was watching Formula 1 and I'd see Michael in a pit stop, and when the flames are going on in the car or something's going on, I used to see he just didn't move. And I always thought from that, he must be very, very calm and composed. So I always try to catch that and to try to do the same thing.
Lewis has made it out of the pit lane with 35 seconds to spare.
And then we got out, got a good start straight up to, I think it was up to second.
Vettel feels he needs the cover Button straight away, and that's why he's not had a great start. He's moving around like crazy. Button leads the Grand Prix. We believe it's Jenson Button that's coming in first, and so does Vettel. And look at that, he's in the wrong pit.
He stops in the wrong box, and crucially, Sebastian Vettel gets away first. That was a terrible mistake there by Jenson Button.
Yeah, that was one of my most embarrassing weekends, I think, of my career. And maybe I shouldn't be mentioning this because people have probably forgotten.
How did he do that?
That completely destroyed my race, really.
Hamilton shapes up for a look at Button. And he's got a tremendous slipstream down the pit straight. And Hamilton fancies a look up the inside into turn 1. And Button had to give him some space. A beautiful move.
And then obviously had a good battle with Sebastian as well.
Look at Hamilton, this would be for the lead. And Vettel had to go defensive. And it just leaves Hamilton enough space.
Very few opportunities arise throughout a lap to overtake. And I'm sure not everyone would have overtaken in the same place that I would have.
Vettel looking more in his mirrors than he is ahead. And he's looking up the inside, he's through! Hamilton takes the lead. Absolutely brilliant.
One of the very rare moments that I had the chance to overtake him during the whole season, so it was a good feeling.
Lewis Hamilton brilliantly wins.
Oh, that was amazing, thank you so much.
I remember grabbing hold of Martin Whitmarsh at the end of the race, and he was physically, visibly shaking in the pit lane. Before we chatted live, he dropped his headphones. He was all over the place.
Hey, well done. You're right.
And I think there was genuine panic among the people in the pit lane that Red Bull were just going to start the year, win every race, win the title again. And this was a big moment for Formula One. It was a seminal moment that team could be beaten.
It showed we had a much more emotional Lewis Hamilton when he won that Grand Prix. Part of it could have been the fact that he had the issues before the race, but I think more than that, it was just telling us a little bit about the state of mind for Lewis in 2011.
Jones has done it, and he is the world champion. World champion. Jacques Villeneuve Hill, world champion. Unbounded joy in the Williams.
It's the worst start to a Williams Formula One season in their history.
It felt sad, didn't it, this year, watching Williams really struggle. Less than 1% of the points of Red Bull. Pastor Maldonado, the worst record for any Williams driver since the team were formed in the 70s.
My view is that one of the greatest names ever to grace our sport is both Frank Williams and the Williams team. And it was hugely sad for me to see what was happening, because when I started, they were the pinnacle. They were the people you aspired to try to even look at or to grace.
Well, he joined them after they won 3 Constructors' Championships on the spin.
You know, they're a great British engineering success story, but yet now it's almost like the modern era has passed them by.
So we arrive in Turkey with Sebastian having not won his first race of the season. As he looks to get back to winning ways, he has the worst possible start to the race weekend, doesn't he?
He's still very young in his career, but it does seem that he's able to use the free practice for exactly what it's intended for, to explore the limits, to find out exactly what's his game plan when it comes to qualifying in the race.
It was interesting to see how would he get himself back out of that. How would he compose himself? How would he ever qualify? And how would he actually approach the race? But he answered that in fine style.
Vettel takes the Grand Prix victory.
Yes! That's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
He led them a merry dance in the race. They get away perfectly off the front row. No stallers on the grid. It looks pretty even. Alonso's up the inside. He takes the lead for Ferrari. Fernando Alonso leads the race in front of his adoring fans. What a sensational stunt.
Vettel heading for the pits.
This is going to be so close. And he's got it. It's worked beautifully.
Let's use the yellow button to try and help overtake.
Vettel's driving it like it's a qualifying lap. There'll be less grip on these hard tyres.
And Vettel has an answer for everything that Lewis Hamilton can throw at him. The leader of the championship did not buckle under pressure.
Thank you. Oh, that was close, man. Jeez. You were coming.
Yeah, so much downforce and high speed, you guys.
Yeah, I had to use it.
I think the car, in comparison to the previous year, wasn't as dominant, but the team, all of us, we were just ready and we knew what we were, trying to do.
So Seb picks up that win in Turkey, he picks up the win in Spain, then we go to Monaco, and it felt that weekend like he really got the luck.
Button is absolutely flying out there. He's got a chance now to get into the lead of this Grand Prix.
In about 2 or 3 laps' time, we think Vettel will hit the cliff, and then he will be 2 to 3 seconds per lap slower than he is now.
Petrov in the wall. Can the leaders thread their way through? Yes, they can. Safety car has been deployed, unsurprisingly. We've got a red flag.
So stopping under the red flag, I thought it was a positive, because I knew that when we were released again, getting heat in your tyres is very difficult when you don't have any rubber on your tyres. So I thought we were in a good position.
Ted, tell us about the tyres.
Yeah, the couple of guys at McLaren I asked believe that you can change tyres on the grid.
Yeah, maybe I should have read the rules, but I didn't think that was the case.
Just to confirm that plays, of course, into the hands of Sebastian Vettel, whose tyres were just about to fall off the cliff.
It was a difficult race for them because we were strong. We were making the right calls on pit stops, and they had to react quickly. And I felt that they made a few mistakes there, but it worked out for them in the end. I think they really lucked into it.
Sebastian Vettel finally wins the Monaco Grand Prix. He is the master of Monaco, and behind him 2 world champions, Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button.
For every driver, it's special to win in the streets of Monaco. Also the way that the race happened, where it seemed lost at some stage already, and we got it back. It was tasted very sweet.
I think the most unlucky person that weekend was Lewis Hamilton. He arrived there in attacking style. He was almost like mentally he could visualise his name on the trophy, and then it all went wrong.
I love being in Monaco. It's my favourite Grand Prix the whole year. It's quickest in Q1, quickest in Q2. I was on it. I knew that I could be pole position. I had extra time in the bag as well, so it was definitely tough when I didn't get it.
And Hamilton crosses the line to start his first. And we've got a crash then. So we've got Perez, and that's a heavy crash. Red flags are out.
That's another situation where you just have to rise above it, and unfortunately that weekend I didn't. I think it was due to frustration. I have to admit it was due to frustration. At the end of the day, I'm only human. You do get frustrated even though you're supposed to be composed all the time. It's ridiculous because there's a lot of pressure. You're put in an awkward position on the back foot, and then you are generally expected to somehow pull out miracles. It's almost like I just snapped for a moment, and everyone has those days.
Okay. Lewis, a pretty eventful day, and I imagine a disappointing day for you. Have you just been at the Stewards? What's the latest?
You know what? I've been to the Stewards. Out of 6 races, I've been to the Stewards 5 times. It's a joke. It's an absolute freaking joke. You can't overtake here, and you very, very rarely do you ever get an opportunity. And I was quite a lot quicker than Massa. I went up the inside, and the guy turned so early, and just turned into me, so I tried to go over the curb to avoid him, and we're stuck together. So I mean, it was just and of course I get the penalty, which is usual. He held me up in qualifying and I got the penalty. He turned into me and I got the penalty. It's ridiculous, man. I mean, these drivers are absolutely freaking ridiculous. He's stupid.
Why do you think you're so magnetic to the Stewards?
Maybe it's because I'm black. That's what Ali G says. I don't know.
I think that when you have tough days in your career, I think they always feel the same. There's no lower you can really go, generally. So you hit the bottom, and it's the deepest part of your gut and your heart. It's just that I go there every now and then.
That was the one race that I needed to reassess my opinion of Lewis Hamilton. Up to that moment, I had thought he was the most exciting young driver that I'd seen for a very long time. And I thought that was one of his poorest ever races. And I had to call to question my own thinking as to, do I now really believe he is as magnificent as I think he is? I thought Monaco was very poor for Lewis Hamilton.
Everything pretty much went wrong that could have gone wrong at the start of the race, with crashing with Lewis and crashing with Fernando, getting a puncture, breaking my front wing, having a drive-through, doing 5 pit stops. And I think having the tough years in the sport that I've had really helped me that race, because it made me realise that you just can't give up. Whatever happens, never give up. Always keep fighting, because you never know what's going to happen.
Here in Montreal, a wet track should simply make this one of the best races of the year. Safety car is in this lap. Thank goodness we're going to have a race. And he's touched. Webber is round. He's always in the wars, is Lewis.
Spare me your judgments and spare me your dreams.
Oh, no, Paris touch.
What's he doing? Rain down on me.
This is difficult times for McLaren.
Look how hard it's raining.
It's absolutely chucking it down.
So well, but you can't see anything. It's undrivable. It's undrivable.
It is a red flag situation. The race is suspended.
That looks like the red-shouldered Blackbird to me.
And the fans jumping up and pointing. It's a racing car. We haven't seen one of those for a while. Fernando Alonso's beats the Ferrari. And look, it's
Button's got a puncture.
It just all keeps falling into place, doesn't it, for Red Bull? Jenson Button is in last place now. Brilliant driving. Schumacher surely driving the best race since his comeback. Cars off all over the place. Button now streaming back through the field. This is going to be a titanic scrap, isn't it? Button sails past Webber, somehow finding enough grip. Schumacher, Button goes the long way round. Is he ahead of him? Yes, he is. Button up into second place.
This race is not over for the win. What can Button do? You can see Vettel, you can smell the victory. Is there enough time left?
Are we going to run out of time before we run out of laps? A beautiful drive from the 6 times through the pits, Jenson Button.
We can have him. We can win this race, Jenson.
Leads as he goes into the final lap. Button, the new fastest lap of the race, driving for his life, driving for the victory. Has Vettel got what it takes to hold him off? He's got right. Button leads the Grand Prix. Jenson Button, he wins a brilliant race. What a victory.
Brilliant, Jenson. Absolutely brilliant.
Guys, that was a hell of a race.
We see Vettel finally cracking. He's made a mistake.
It'd been flawless up until that point. There are weaknesses with everyone, and no one's perfect, and it's good to see that.
Surely the greatest Formula One victory of Jenson Button's career.
Basically my career in one Grand Prix. A big roller coaster ride, and ending on a high, which is great.
Well, I have to be politically correct, don't I? So.
You don't?
I do. Yes, I do. So I'll just say that it was just an unfortunate situation, and it's very difficult to see in those. Again, I think I was another race where should have been higher up, made a mistake, a little bit frustrated myself, and rather than wait for a clear opportunity, I went for one that was 50-50, which was unnecessary, really. But I did it, and I paid the price.
I think both of them were at fault.
What, Lewis for putting his nose where it shouldn't have been, and Jenson for not looking in his mirrors?
Jenson knew he was there. Don't you kid me. Jenson knew he was there.
The clever use of the radio by Jenson straight away, wasn't it?
What was he thinking?
What do you think?
I think Jenson took the racing line.
Did you think Jenson, if you were in Jenson's seat, you'd have known he was there?
Of course he knew.
Yes, of course, there you are. He knew he was there.
Ronald Jones, park for the top race.
utterly dominant performance yet again from Sebastian Vettel.
Hello, Silverstone. So, welcome then. Here we go, British Grand Prix. Yes. Another win for Vettel.
Well, let me just check out this. That's fantastic. I think it's as much the experience as it is the actual Grand Prix itself.
You still got your pyjamas on. Lovely. Here we go then, guys. The 2011 British Grand Prix at Silverstone.
You know the thing that I really love about coming underneath this Welcome to Silverstone Bridge?
Go on.
Is that picture of me looking much younger.
Alonso does a new fastest lap of the race. He's absolutely on fire.
Once again, Formula One didn't disappoint with a bit of political controversy. For one weekend only, the FIA said, no blowing your diffusers. And remember all the rumour in the paddock? Was this, you know, FIA favouring Ferrari? Was it just the natural ebb and flow of controlling what is a very complicated sport?
Sebastian Vettel got away better. Vettel leads from Webber.
There's Hamilton down the inside, McLaren against McLaren. Michael didn't expect Kobayashi to come back onto the racing line, but there's no question that's a misjudgment from Michael.
Coming into the final corner, Button manages to get to the apex. Brilliant move yet again from Button. Alonso comes under pressure from Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton up the inside towards Cox Corner. Will he have enough grip when he gets there? He does indeed.
I think we're about to see a pass here from the Ferrari. He's got his KERS, he's got his DRS.
Alonso retakes then third place. Red Bull left rear's not gone on. Alonso's through. Sebastian Vettel's got some serious work to do now. Right front,
yeah, there's no nut.
Right, because they went to change gun, didn't they?
Front left isn't on, guys. Okay, Lewis, current level of fuel saving unfortunately is not enough. We're going to need to do some more to get to the end of the race.
Hamilton goes defensive up the inside and Webber just sails down the outside into third place. Vettel goes to the inside, Webber has to go the long way round. This is a proper scrap for second place in the Grand Prix.
Mark, you need to maintain the gap. Maintain the gap.
Fernando Alonso wins the British Grand Prix.
And Massa's through. Massa's through.
Oh, there's
contact there. Can Hamilton get back in the inside? Yes, he can.
Hamilton bullies him out of the way.
And it's going to be a run to the line.
Hamilton does it. And a clear fourth place for Lewis Hamilton.
It's a fantastic day. It's a fantastic day, Fernando. Very, very good.
Fantastic race for us, and you know, winning a Formula One Grand Prix is a very special feeling. But winning at Silverstone, which you know, the tradition, the history in Formula One in the UK is the best, and you know, has been a fantastic feeling. It was a nice weekend in general with the 60th anniversary of the first victory of Ferrari. It was quite a mix of feelings there as well.
So whatever the reason for changing the rules from one weekend only, it worked brilliantly in Ferrari's favour and gave them their only win of 2011. Not good enough.
By Ferrari standards, of course, it's not good enough, and you have to understand that they're the biggest team and they've got the biggest fan base. And it was a disappointing season. Alonso was there, yes, he got the podiums, but you know, he just didn't dominate like he did the previous year. A bad year for Ferrari.
Well, indeed, the previous year he had 5 victories, 10 podiums. This year, again 10 podiums, but only 1 victory. So it did show a big drop-off in form.
He's got absolutely no grip. Alonso's pace really been nowhere, has it? And let's have a look at Alonso gyrating on the brake pedal.
Every day in the Italian media, there's something written about the Ferrari Formula One team. That's pressure. Oh, and they've got Massa there, heading off into the gravel.
I give up.
What?
Ooh, that's not a nice message for a team to hear.
Never thought I'd hear him say that.
I give up, I give up.
Everybody knows already now we have a correlation problems between wind tunnel and track, so we were putting new pieces in the car from February to April, more or less, that in the wind tunnel they were working okay, but in the track they were negative. So we found ourselves with a car in April that was slower than the February car. We understood this maybe too late, and that was the biggest mistake of this year, the biggest problem we faced. So something that obviously you need to avoid if you want to fight for the World Championship, and something we need to improve for next year.
You always need wins to keep the interest, to keep your bosses happy, to keep the people happy around you, to get good stories, to make yourself happy and feel happy in your own life. And it's not winning, it's succeeding, it's success. It's something I work for every day, and so when you do get it, it's just one of the most satisfying feelings you get.
And it's neck and neck at the front, but Hamilton in the second phase of the start takes the lead of the Grand Prix. What's going wrong with the man who could make no mistakes? He's gone deep. He's gone too deep.
Webber's going to be through here. Any cares left, he'll deploy it.
So Lewis now then is back in the slipstream, and he comes up the inside using the extra straight line speed. And Webber though, can he go around the outside of turn 2 and reclaim that lead? I can't see Lewis yielding that one too easily, and he doesn't. Hamilton then fancies...
He's round the outside, he's going to make this one stick.
Another brilliant move from Lewis Hamilton. Where have we seen this many mistakes from Sebastian Vettel? Lewis Hamilton wins the German Grand Prix. Wonderful drive.
Great job, guys! Great job! That was amazing.
Amazing. Felt great to overtake Fernando. Huh?
Lewis, I have to say one of the best moves I've seen for a long time actually was on the outside.
Thank you.
Passing Alonso.
It felt great, and that means a lot that you would say that. Thank you.
The greatest compliment I can pay him is I'm really sad he's not driving for us still. So thanks, Jensen. Well done.
Thank you very much. This achievement wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for my father. 32,333 glasses of wine in the last We woke up Sunday morning to a wet circuit, and we saw a rainbow. And I remember Jesse saying to me, "You remember the last time we saw a rainbow like that?" And I was like, "No." She said, "Canada, after you won the Grand Prix in Canada." I was like, "Wow." She said, "You got to go and win it now." I was like, "Thanks for the pressure, honey."
It's Vettel down to the first corner. Hamilton second at the moment. Button seems to be holding his third place. Supreme driving.
In Canada, it was wet, it was changeable conditions. Jensen was flying. Hungary, wet, changeable conditions.
Button takes over second place.
Certainly with McLaren, with the current regulations, he's shown himself to make very good decisions on when to go on the tyres.
Button takes the lead of the Grand Prix.
Maybe it's from when I was karting. Before I started racing, my father wouldn't buy me any wet tyres when it was raining. I had to run around on slicks. He said he wanted me to learn how to drive and rise in the wet. He says that now, but basically he just couldn't afford to get me any wet tyres, or couldn't be bothered.
Button brilliantly wins the Hungarian Grand Prix, the class of the field.
For me, the car felt great in those conditions. I could feel my way around the lap pretty well, and a very special victory in my 200th Grand Prix in Formula 1.
Good work, mate. Thank you, thank you. Good call.
Actually, I think he's driving better now than he did in his Brawn days. I thought he had an outstanding season, and for him to win this race on his 200th Grand Prix was remarkable.
The sensation of Spa has been Germany's 22-year-old Michael Schumacher in the Jordan Ford team. Today, he starts 7th on the grid. An incredible achievement.
And Eddie, we arrive in Spa just to make you feel really ancient.
Thanks.
20th anniversary of you giving Michael Schumacher his debut at that track.
You know, I was critical of Michael continuing and starting again his career in the second go. And, you know, here he was qualifying 24th.
I think he lost a rear wheel, didn't he?
But he did himself proud. He did an unbelievable race. I think he got up to 5th place in the end. That was one of the great drives for Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher, P5, very, very good drive from last on the grid.
So now we sort of start our run into the end of the F1 season, and Belgium, Monza, Singapore, 3 races, 3 poles for Sebastian Vettel, 3 wins. The guy's flying at this stage.
Are we witnessing one of the true greats, the legends of the sport?
Vettel, this time he's going to get around the outside. Bravery at 200 miles an hour.
anyone who doubts that Sebastian Vettel can race, that was brave, brave stuff.
Yes! We did it!
Fantastic, Seb. Brilliant drive. You're 1 point away from achieving the title.
I remember pretty well. I mean, after all the races, I get the results printed out, and on top of it is the championship ranking. And the first thing I do is rip the page off and throw it away, because it doesn't matter at that stage.
Paul di Resta in 6th place. Sensational drive in his first Singapore Grand Prix.
So, Paul di Resta, how impressive a drive was that?
Well, to do his best result in Singapore was a big moment, because that track is physically challenging for the drivers. You had to manage the tyres, street circuit, one mistake you're in the wall, so that really cemented his reputation this year.
Paul di Resta, what a start for his first Grand Prix.
Kept it nice and tidy on the first laps, kept out of trouble, and he finds himself right up behind the 2009 world champion.
You know, he took an unusual route to Formula One, coming up through touring cars, and absolutely delivered what I think is the key to great performance in Formula One: qualifying speed. He'd out-qualified his teammate how many times in the first 9 races?
I think 7 of the first 9, yeah.
And great qualifying at Silverstone, where he was 6th in the grid at his home Grand Prix. And he has not only managed to be the Rookie of the Year, he's established himself in the sights of the top teams as a future great.
So then the season takes us to Japan. We know that Japan's important to Formula One and Formula One's important to Japan. But that weekend of all weekends, sport wasn't actually the most important thing at all.
A massive earthquake has hit the northeast of Japan, triggering a devastating tsunami.
Miles inland, washing away everything in its path. Thousands are feared dead.
World about the risk of a nuclear disaster in Japan.
Increased radiation is a catastrophe at the Fukushima plant.
I'm really happy that the Japanese Grand Prix is going ahead. Japan has had a difficult time in 2011, so I think it's great that we're here and we can hopefully put on a great show and put a smile on a lot of Japanese people's faces here.
Well, I try not to think about, the championship. So that's why I think it was difficult in Japan all of a sudden, because we're focused on Sunday and focused on the race. And yes, we knew we had the opportunity to win the championship already there, but really we were only focused on that race.
Seb, #1, be a champion again!
The form book absolutely assures us that in a little over 90 minutes from now, we'll be applauding a new double world Formula One champion. Vettel having to cover very early on against Jenson Button. Button had to lift the throttle as Vettel ruthlessly put him onto the grass.
He's got to get a penalty for that, hasn't he?
The stewards thought it's not worth a penalty for Vettel.
Losing the rear tyre. Losing rear tyre.
Vettel then pits from the lead. That looked a pretty tardy pit stop to me. McLaren boys are in the pit lane. Button away then. And look at that. Look at that. Button is ahead of Vettel.
As soon as I saw myself come out the pits in front of Sebastian, looked in my mirrors and saw him behind, I knew that it would be a very different race to what we had experienced with Sebastian most of the year. Instead of him just cruising around looking after his tyres, he actually had to fight for it, and it definitely made me smile.
Button under pressure in the closing stages of the race.
McLaren marginal because of the amount of fuel that they're able to run during this Grand Prix.
Trying to conserve fuel while you got two angry world champions chasing you down, it's pretty tough.
And Button does the fastest middle sector of the entire Grand Prix.
The dream scenario here in Japan would be a Japanese driver to win this race. Dream scenario number 2 would be Jenson Button, Japanese girlfriend, got the messages on his crash helmet. Save Japan, we pray for Japan.
He didn't lose his head when he got shoved onto the grass. His philosophy was, don't get angry, get even. And he certainly has done that. Jenson Button brilliantly wins the Japanese Grand Prix.
You know, you could say it's slightly overshadowed by Seb winning the championship.
The new world champion, Sebastian Vettel.
But not for me, it wasn't, you know, winning in front of the Japanese fans. And I pulled up just after the finish line and got out and waved to the crowd, and you know, the atmosphere was fantastic. It was just like I'd won the world championship myself, not Sebastian.
Sebastian, you're the 2011 world champion. Well done.
Thank you so much. We took nothing for granted, and we did it.
If he was my son, I'd be so proud, and I say that without any hesitation. He is just an exemplary boy.
I've never seen my missus cry at Grand Prix before, so even when I've won a race, so it means a lot to her. It's her home Grand Prix, and it's, yeah, when she cries, it's difficult for me not to, but I'm going to try and hold it together right now.
There's no question in my mind that his name is etched on the trophy of the great drivers of Formula One.
Sebastian, come and stand here. If you just take a look up there at that monitor, this is the Hall of Fame that you are joining. These are the fellow back-to-back Formula One world champions, and you are now part of them.
Just seeing those sort of heroes is already very emotional, because I think you know, that's one of the great things about Formula One. There's a lot of history and tradition, and in a way you can compare yourself to that. When I was young, I was dreaming about Formula One, and so, you know, I love the history, so I know reasonably well, you know, about obviously the big names and what happened in the past. You try not to think consciously about yourself and your success and what you might have achieved, etc. But then when you see, you know, all of a sudden people telling you, okay, you are now at the same step as these guys, it's hard to put in words. Maybe there's some people around that are really in love with themselves, but for us, you know, we are who we are, and we just love what we do. And then all of a sudden to imagine that you are thereabouts does make you sometimes feel very special.
There you go, Sebastian. Thank you. That's now the company.
You shouldn't do these things, man.
Thank you.
All right, well, forevermore, that's the company that you're going to keep from now on. So, Sebastian Vettel, world champion. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well done. So great celebrations, emotions from the race winner and the championship winner in Japan. And then we go to Korea, and that's the one that really meant something to Adrian Newey, Christian Horner and the team. It's a team effort, and they confirm they're the best team in the world.
About.
No matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now.
Thank you, boys. What a race.
No matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now.
We keep on working. We do our thing. We are who we are.
We're the renegades in this atomic age. This atomic age of renegades.
Ring, ding, 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 ding.
We're the renegades of funk. We're the renegades of funk.
That was brilliant. Well, it was touch and go, but it was brilliant work by the Red Bull mechanics.
We're the renegades of funk. We're the renegades of funk.
And Vettel leads the race. Sebastian Vettel will have thoroughly enjoyed that.
Great drive, fantastic. We've won the Constructors. Thank you. Well done.
Constructors' championships don't come easily. You know, McLaren haven't won a Constructors' championship since '98. Yet they've had a couple of drivers' titles since then. So that really is about the teamwork. It's about both the drivers delivering results. It's about the pit crew delivering, all of the other factors that are there. And yeah, I think for Adrian, for Christian, for the whole team, Korea really summed that up.
All season long, we'd waited, hadn't we, for someone other than a Red Bull to be on pole. And we thought, when that happens, we'll celebrate. That driver will celebrate. But that driver didn't celebrate. Weird reaction from Lewis in Korea.
Finally, something other than a Red Bull on pole position. Lewis Hamilton takes it.
Well, Lewis, congratulations. Your first pole position in a long time, but it seems you've got your swagger back.
Yeah.
Is it an emotional pole position for yourself?
No, not really. It's been a roller coaster of a year.
Here was a chance to celebrate, and we were all expecting some greatness and really whipping it up, and he didn't do it.
The bottom line is, this is a public sport. You know, the people at home want to imagine what it's like to drive these Grand Prix cars. They want to imagine how good it feels when you're the fastest guy in the world or you win a Grand Prix. So in many respects, the expression, get over yourself, you know, get yourself fully focused on the job you're doing. You're not only a highly paid sportsman, you're a performer. You've got to entertain the crowd.
I don't care really too much about that. I got pole position, which was great. Had my own little moment in the car, and I don't feel that I had to give anyone anything.
I think he's very emotional.
I think he may be.
I wasn't happy with certain things that were going on in my life. Probably one of the first positives I've had for a while.
Oh, they're contacted. Hamilton into the barriers.
Contact there.
I was not going to let Felipe come by. And for the rest of the year, he didn't let me come by.
And he's lost his front wing.
My thought is that, again, he cannot use his mind, you know.
Good job, Boom.
Very good. I'm going to get going.
How many times with me this year? So many times.
They just keep doing it.
Can't see anything out of my mirrors.
Massa, by his own admission, had a bad season, and he should not have been using the same part of the track as Hamilton. Hamilton should have been long gone. That car was better than the Ferrari. I think Lewis put himself in a situation and he suffered as a result.
We're on board with Lewis Hamilton, who is getting close now to Felipe Massa. And he's got at the inside this time. That's interesting. Jenson Button, another fine second place for him.
Being outraced by a teammate on a regular basis is something that's new to you, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Jenson was doing a better job at the time. He's in a good place. He's got great people around him. His dad's always at the races. You know, he has his girlfriend there all the time. He has his manager. He has his people around him. So he's in a very good place, and that's the challenge for every driver. We all want to get that. I think I kind of lost that for a moment, but I'm trying to deal without it. I think I'm doing okay at the moment.
We saw vulnerability in 2011 that we never had seen before. We saw emotion. He continued to give great headlines during the course of the year, but not because of great performances on the racetrack. You know, we had a few of those, but it was more to do with his on-off relationship, you know, not having his father as part of his management anymore, putting 19 Management, which are, you know, more famous for music industry, and David Beckham, people like that. So there was a lot of headlines that he gave, which are not the sort of headlines you want. You just want to have winning headlines.
I've had lots of weekends where I'm up against the media, but it's always good to come back fresh and come back and rise above it. Then everyone just shuts up.
The race in the desert is underway. That's even between Vettel and Hamilton down in the first corner. And we got Vettel off with a puncture. Sebastian Vettel punctured right rear. Vettel comes into the pits and his luck has run out. Never thought I'd be saying that this year. Hamilton is back, and so are McLaren.
I want to dedicate this one to my mum. Happy birthday. Thank you for coming.
Just always wanted to be here for him, but, you know, we're here today, and it's been such a wonderful experience for my birthday as well, so.
You know, you've spoken about the bubble that you referred to that Jenson has around him. What can you do to get into a happier place, to have people around you that just make you feel like you're walking on a cloud?
I think I just need to invite them.
So we've talked about how exciting it's been at the front. It was exciting this year in the midfield as well, wasn't it? I guess Renault will be the most disappointed of the midfield teams.
Well, they will indeed. They had a great innovation at the beginning of the year, blowing the front of the diffuser, which then energised the whole underbody of the car.
Petrov then gets his first podium. Brilliant performance.
2 podiums out of 2 races.
Well done, well deserved.
But for some reason, they weren't able to develop that during the course of the year. So their performance stalled and they found themselves firmly at the back end of the top 10.
Well, I was always intrigued by the midfield, and I would watch. Yes, sure, it's always important to watch the very front, but that midfield, I always felt that there was something gurgling away in there to make sure that it was really exciting.
Wow, tremendous driving.
Let's talk about the teams that generally occupied the back of the grid this year. And once again, Virgin finished the year as the slowest team in Formula One, the 12th team out of 24. Good enough?
Well, that's remarkable because I always was looking at HRT as being the guys bringing up the rear. You know, they turned up in Melbourne with the car still being built during qualifying.
Hispania are a waste of talent and petrol as far as I'm concerned.
But yet, the way the system is in Formula One, they actually finished in front of Virgin in the championship for the 2nd year running. So Virgin have a long way to go before they can be considered a serious Formula One operation. As good as Jenson Button has been, as good as Sebastian Vettel's been, both Mark Webber and Lewis Hamilton have kind of lost their mojo a little bit. They are better drivers than that. They're faster drivers than that.
Webber then fancies a run. Oh, they're so close. Come back, turn around, David. It's all right. They didn't hit each other.
Away from the screen. I thought, incredibly brave move from Mark Webber there.
Mark Webber will start this Grand Prix 18th. Mark Webber, after a stunning performance, is third and on the podium. His arm goes in the air, and rightly so.
Sensational comeback from Mark Webber.
What would be your moment of the season for you, Mark?
I don't think there's been many highlights, mate, to be honest, but yeah.
Webber and Mark with a contact!
Okay, Mark, we have a gearbox problem. We need you to short shift.
We've said it before with Mark Webber. If he didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all.
A racing driver feels very vulnerable in a team setup. I'm sure he was considering what was actually going on. Why is everything going Vettel's way? So you would question those things. And of course, when you start questioning those things, your performance drops off because you're not sure.
It's Vettel from Webber, and Vettel pulling out a very handsome lead indeed.
Sebastian, we have a serious gearbox problem. Short shift, every corner, every lap.
Okay, but then I will fall behind. I expect
to see Mark Webber passing Sebastian Vettel for the lead of this Grand Prix anytime soon.
And now he lets him through.
Well, of course, team orders are allowed in Formula One now.
He's been a loyal servant to Red Bull, and Red Bull have very much returned that favour today. His car has run absolutely faultlessly. Mark Webber wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. The fist is in the air.
Why, as a driver, would you pull over the way he did? It was emphatic, it was in front of everyone. He was actually making it clear that he was moving out of the way to let Mark go.
They didn't think the car would make it to the finish. So why hold up Mark and put him in a situation where he might end up losing the race or fighting with McLaren later in the race? Let him go, let him get some clear space. I actually think that Mark fully deserved that victory. You know, he was great around the Brazilian racetrack, but it is remarkable it took him so long to get the win.
So for this coming season, 6 world champions on the grid with the return of Kimi Raikkonen. That's a quarter of the grid have won the title, David.
It's remarkable. I don't know if we've ever had a statistic like that before. And such different personalities. The way they'll interact with their teams, the way they'll try and develop the car, the way they'll race it wheel to wheel out on track. Please give us a great racing season.
Yeah. You guys outside of Red Bull, you better get your thinking cap on because there's a big job in front of you.
Well, guys, once again, it was wonderful to share the world with you in 2011. I look forward to more of it in 2012, but I'm afraid to say your audition with the Spoons didn't make the final cut. So we've got a proper band to celebrate the best bits of the year just gone. Here's to 2011. Well done.
Proper band.
Well done, boys.
Well done, DC. Well done, Jake.
EJ, couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, we could.
Underneath on your back, David. Which way do you the other way? Very lovely.
Contacted Hamilton into the barriers. Side by side.
That was amazing. Thank you so much.
And look at that. He's in the wrong spots in the wrong box.
Yes. And yes again.
And Alonso lead.
Magic paddle, Michael. Magic paddle. Great job, guys. Great job.
He's got Harry Button leads the Grand Prix.
Brilliant, Jensen. Absolutely brilliant.
Am I really watching what I'm watching? Because this is just the best racing.
The new world champion.
Yes, baby. Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
That you didn't mind, 'cause love's hard to find. La 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 la.